Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Star back in the video today, and we're going to be talking about a potential trade that would land star. Yeah, I would say star. If not, he's a Pro Bowl. Would land Pro Bowl defensive end Cam, aka Cameron Jordan, in Houston, Texas. We heard earlier this season, when it was coming up to the trade deadline, that the Saints were looking to maybe trade Cam Jordan. I don't know if the Saints are still in that mindset of trying to trade Cam, but what I do know is with the hiring of DeMeco Ryans, the Texans, you got a defensive-minded head coach who's definitely going to be impressed with our defense, right? We have a young defense with great players starting with Derek Stingley and Jalen Petrie in that secondary, and then going to the linebacker and defensive end group, you have obviously John Grenard, who's finished the season incredible with the Texans. Christian Harris had a good strong of a second half in his rookie season. So you got those two guys. You have some decent veterans like Christian Kirksey and Malik Collins, who both had great 2022s. Both had great 2022 seasons, but I do think that DeMeco Ryans coming into Houston, it's going to be way different than it was with Lovie Smith or David Culley. He's not going to F around. He wants to make this defense good, and I think he's going to want to make some adjustments going into 2023 season. And I think it starts with making a trade or a couple trades or being aggressive in free agency. The Texans definitely have the money to spend in free agency, and I think Cam Jordan could be a possible guy to target in the trade market, and it's not going to take much. And here's what I'd have the Texans given up for Cam Jordan: a 2024 for the next year's draft, 2024 second round pick, and a 2023 fourth round pick. I think that gets the deal done for the Texans. I think the Texans are definitely going to want a defensive end. I think DeMeco, if he's watching film on the Texans, he's going to realize that they definitely need another defensive end next to John Grenard, because the Texans were awful with run stopping last season. Their defense was good last season, but the only problem that they had at times was stopping the run. They could not stop the run. I think Cam Jordan is a guy who's a great player at stopping the run. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, had almost 9 sacks this season, 8.5 sacks this season. And so he would just be a tremendous addition in this Texans team. I don't know if the Texans trade for him. I don't know if the Saints even want to trade him, but I know if the Texans are going to be looking in the trade market for a potential defensive end and potentially trying to land another defensive end to try to help stop the run and for the Texans defense to become even more, more popular. I think DeMeco, he helped build that amazing 49ers defense that we see today, that, is truly the best defense in the NFL, right? He helped make that come to life. And I think our defense is pretty mediocre right now. It's decent. It's not top 5 or it's not top 10, and I would say it's probably top 12, top 15 defense in the NFL probably. So mediocre defense. But I think DeMeco's going to want to make this defense a top 10, near top 5 defense. And it starts with adding in somebody like Cam Jordan. I think he fits well on the Texans, especially with a well-minded defensive coach in DeMeco Ryans. And I just see the fit with the Texans. I don't know how much power DeMeco has in calling the shots. I know I don't think Lovey had much control, and I think DeMeco, he's signed a 6-year contract. I think he's if he wants to do something, I think Nick Caserio and Cal McNair are going to allow him to put the players that he wants to give the Texans the best chance to win. Obviously, the Texans, it's going to be rough in DeMeco's first season, but I think if they make some good moves in a bad division and an easy schedule, and Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, whoever's the quarterback for the Texans, has a good rookie season, this Texans team could fight for the division. Probably would lose to the Jags because Trevor Lawrence going into his third season will be even better. He'll have another weapon in Calvin Ridley because his suspension is over. So the Jags would become even dangerous. But I mean, besides that, the Texans, if they make the right moves with D'Amico Ryans being head coach, he's he's going to be an amazing head coach. You add in some defensive players, potentially Cameron Jordan. You have a better quarterback in Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. I do think that the Texans would be the deepest threat to the Jacksonville Jaguars in that division. I don't see the Titans unless they make some, crazy trades, unless they like I've heard potentially there was a rumor that the Titans were going to get Lamar and get DeAndre Hopkins and pair them two with Henry. But I just don't see that I don't see that happening at all, but in that case I just don't see the Titans being good next season. I don't see the Colts being good next season. So I think right now, with division-wise, I think Jacksonville will win the division 2023. I know it's way too early, but right now, in February, I think Jacksonville will win the division next season, and the Texans will finish second, just based off of the head coaching hire and how popular the Texans might be in the free agency and trade market this offseason. And there's a lot of reasons. D'Amico, and I think D'Amico's going to really try to build a better defense, and possibly Cam Jordan could be a good fit to start with that. I mean, definitely cheap for an amazing 8-time Pro Bowl defensive end who's had a great career. But I'd love the addition for the Texans. I don't know if it happens. I would doubt it happen. But if the Texans are interested in really helping that defensive end group, which possibly if J.J. Watt comes in at the defensive end as a defensive end coach, because I've heard a lot of rumors that J.J. Watt might come in as a defensive end coach and join D'Amico's staff. J.J. Watt could help some defensive ends in that case, but so you bring in J.J. Watt as a defensive end coach. I think some defensive ends might want to come to Houston as well. So the Texans I think they're gonna blossom next season. I think it's still gonna take another year or two for the Texans, but this move could, help the Texans. But you guys let me know your thoughts on the Texans potentially trading for Cam Jordan. Nothing has been reported about the Texans, having interest in Cam Jordan. Nothing's been reported about the Saints, shopping Cam Jordan. It was just reported near the trade deadline in the NFL in October that the Saints were potentially looking to trade for Cam Jordan. And I do think the Texans will be looking to trade for or sign a defensive end this offseason. And I think Cam Jordan could be on the top of that list. So we'll see. And you guys let me know your thoughts. And peace out. Go Texans.